Imagine the most feared hunter in the ocean, freezing mid-chase. A creature that has torn apart great white sharks like paper, drowned blue whales through pure coordination, and turned entire seal colonies into ghost towns. This is the orca, the killer whale. An animal that sits at the very top of the marine food chain with no natural enemies, no competition, and no reason to ever back down. Orcas do not hesitate. They do not retreat. They do not flinch. Except when they see one specific animal. When that animal appears on the horizon, something strange happens inside the pod. The chatter changes, the formation loosens, the confidence evaporates, and then, without a single wound exchanged, the ocean's most ruthless killers quietly turn and swim in the opposite direction. This is not a rumor. This is not a myth invented by whale watchers or dramatized by documentaries. This is a documented pattern observed by marine biologists across multiple oceans for decades. The apex predator of the sea has one animal it is genuinely afraid of. And when you understand why, you will realize that fear in the animal kingdom is not always about who is bigger, stronger, or faster. Sometimes it is about who carries the ghosts of a nightmare no other creature alive has ever survived. The animal that terrifies orcas is the sperm whale. Yes, the same species you have probably seen in slow, peaceful documentary footage. The one that looks like a floating boulder with a face. The one that swims at the speed of a jogging human. On paper, this animal should be an easy target. Orcas hunt in coordinated packs of intelligent killers. Sperm whales are slow, unarmored to the eye, and often traveling in small groups. Every metric that a predator uses to select prey seems to favor the orca. And yet, in the wild, this matchup almost never happens. Not because sperm whales are hidden, not because they are rare, but because orcas have decided, over generations of pod knowledge passed down from mother to calf, that this specific animal is not worth touching. The question is why? What does a sperm whale possess that a 200-ton blue whale does not? What signal is the orca picking up that makes its predator instincts short-circuit? And why has this pattern held true across every ocean, every pod, and every documented encounter for as long as humans have been watching? The answer is not one thing. It is a layered defense system so extreme that scientists still argue over which part of it matters most. So let us peel it back, one layer at a time. Start with the assumption that most people jump to first. Size. It feels intuitive. Sperm whales are huge, so orcas leave them alone. Simple. Except this explanation collapses the moment you check the actual numbers. A female sperm whale weighs somewhere between 30 and 50 tons. An adult orca weighs around 8 tons. That is roughly a 5-to-1 ratio in favor of the whale. Sounds intimidating until you compare it to the blue whale, which weighs up to 200 tons and gets hunted by orcas anyway. A blue whale outweighs an orca by a factor of 25, and pods still take them down. If mass alone were the deterrent, blue whales would be untouchable, and sperm whales would be routine kills. The exact opposite is true, which means the answer has nothing to do with weight. It has to do with what happens the moment the sperm whale realizes it is being hunted. Because that single decision, that one behavioral choice, breaks the entire orca playbook in half. Every predator on Earth operates on a hidden assumption. Prey runs. That assumption is the foundation of every hunting strategy ever evolved. Speed pursuit, ambush, coordinated encirclement, all of it depends on the target trying to escape. The orca playbook is no different. When they target a blue whale, everything they do is designed around one specific behavior. The whale will try to outrun them, and the blue whale plays right into it. Its entire body is built for straight-line speed, long, sleek, torpedo-shaped. When orcas appear, the blue whale accelerates and runs for its life across open ocean. What it does not realize is that orcas do not run, they relay. One group leads the chase. Another group conserves energy. They rotate positions, harass the flanks, and physically climb onto the whale's back to add drag. Every kilometer the blue whale swims costs it more energy than it can afford. After hours of this, its muscles start failing. Its breathing becomes ragged. It slows down. And then the pod does something ruthless. They stop attacking with teeth. They start attacking with position. They physically block the whale from surfacing to breathe. The largest animal that has ever existed on this planet dies not from a bite. It dies because it cannot reach air. Now watch what happens when orcas approach a sperm whale. The sperm whale does not run. It cannot run. Its cruising speed maxes out at around 4 miles per hour. In a sprint, an orca could catch it in seconds. So evolution gave the sperm whale a completely different response, one that no other large whale species uses. It stops, it turns, and it faces the pod directly. That single behavioral shift shatters everything the orcas were prepared to do. You cannot run a relay chase against a target that is not moving. You cannot exhaust an animal that refuses to burn energy. You cannot drown a whale that is choosing when and how to breathe on its own terms. The entire hunting economy collapses in an instant. And now the orcas are standing in front of an opponent that is not fleeing, but waiting. That is a completely different kind of animal. That is not prey anymore. That is a threat. But standing your ground only works if you can actually deliver damage. And this is where the sperm whale reveals a weapon so bizarre that engineers have studied it for insight into biological impact mechanics. Look at a sperm whale from the side. Roughly 1/3 of its total body length is head, not body. Not tail, head. And most of that massive box-shaped skull is not brain tissue. It is a specialized chamber containing hundreds of gallons of a waxy substance called spermaceti, sitting on top of another organ called the junk. Together, they form one of the strangest anatomical structures in the natural world. Scientists have proposed that the sperm whale can control the temperature of the oil inside its head by manipulating blood flow. Cool it down, and the wax solidifies. The head hardens into something closer to a solid block than a living organ. The sperm whale essentially transforms the front of its body into a battering ram, a living, aimable, 40-ton hammer attached to a creature that is willing to charge. Do the physics on this. A 40 to 50-ton mass, moving at even a modest speed, aimed at a target the size of an orca. The kinetic energy delivered on impact is not comparable to a bite. It is closer to a truck hitting a wall. In the 1800s, whaling ships documented multiple cases of angry male sperm whales ramming wooden vessels hard enough to sink them. These were ships built from thick oak, engineered to survive Atlantic storms, and they were broken by a single collision. Now imagine that same force focused on the rib cage of an orca. There is no version of that impact where the orca survives without catastrophic internal damage, which is why the front of a sperm whale is what predators call a red zone. Approaching it is not a hunt anymore. It is a gamble with lethal odds. And orcas, contrary to the myth of the fearless killer, are extremely risk-averse. They do not gamble. They calculate. And the calculation on a head-on charge from a sperm whale is one they consistently refuse to make. So maybe the pod could go around the head, attack from the sides, target a calf. This is the standard orca strategy for large whales. Isolate the young, wear down the mother, take the easy meal. Except sperm whales evolved a countermeasure that looks less like animal behavior and more like military formation. When threatened, the pod arranges itself into what researchers call the marguerite. Adults form a tight circle with the calves protected in the center. Every adult orients their body so that their heads point inward and their tails point outward. That means from every possible angle of attack, the orcas are facing a wall of muscle capable of generating strikes with the force of a wrecking ball. A single tail slap from an adult sperm whale can shatter bone. Now imagine an entire ring of them, coordinated, focused, defending offspring, and refusing to yield ground. Orcas are intelligent enough to run the numbers on this. The probability of grabbing a calf without absorbing a lethal blow is close to zero. The probability of losing a pod member in the attempt is high. And in Orca society, losing a hunter is not just an emotional blow. It is a permanent reduction in the pod's ability to feed itself for years to come. So they hover at a distance, they watch, and eventually they leave. But what about a lone sperm whale? No pod, no formation, just one animal caught in open water with a hunting pack closing in. Even in that scenario, evolution has given it one final escape route. The sperm whale simply leaves the arena entirely. Not sideways, downward. Sperm whales are the deepest diving mammals on the planet. They routinely descend to depths of over 3,000 feet in pursuit of giant squid. Some dives push past 6,000 feet. They can hold their breath for over an hour. Their bodies are engineered for a world of crushing pressure where sunlight does not exist. Orcas cannot follow them there, not even close. Orcas are surface hunters, optimized for speed and agility in shallow water. They can hold their breath for around 15 minutes at absolute best. They rarely dive below 1,000 feet because their physiology begins to fail. If they push deeper in pursuit of a sperm whale, their lungs compress, their hearts destabilize, and oxygen deprivation sets in within minutes. So the sperm whale uses the ocean itself as a shield. It descends into a zone where its predator physically cannot function. The orca pod is left circling the surface, watching their target vanish into a world that would kill them if they tried to follow. Physics wins the fight without a single wound being exchanged. Everything we have described so far applies mainly to females and juveniles, which brings us to the version of the sperm whale that even scientists talk about with a certain hushed respect: the adult male. Sperm whales are one of the most sexually dimorphic large mammals on the planet. Females top out at around 15 to 16 tons. Males can reach 60 to 70 tons, twice as long, 4 times heavier, nearly 10 times the mass of an orca. And unlike the females, adult males live alone. They do not need a pod, they do not need a formation, they do not need the deep sea as an escape route. Because in the entire recorded history of marine biology, there is not a single confirmed case of an orca pod successfully killing a healthy adult male sperm whale. Not one. This is not a suggestion, it is not a probability, it is a hard zero. In every documented interaction, orcas either observe from a safe distance or leave the area entirely. The bulls are, in functional terms, untouchable, which raises the obvious question: if orcas can drown a 200-ton blue whale, why can they not touch a 70-ton male sperm whale? The answer is that the two animals live in completely different categories in the predator's mental model. A blue whale is a peaceful filter feeder with no offensive capability whatsoever. It is a slow-moving warehouse of nutrition that cannot fight back. A male sperm whale is a lifelong predator that spends its days battling giant squid in total darkness, thousands of feet below the surface. It has teeth the size of soda cans. It has muscle density built for combat. It has aggression forged in an environment where losing a fight means being dragged into the abyss and eaten. In the cost-benefit math of predation, a blue whale is a high-reward, low-risk investment. A male sperm whale is a high-reward, potentially fatal risk. No apex predator with a functioning survival instinct takes that trade. Even in the theoretical scenario where an orca pod committed to a serious attack, the physical reality of the sperm whale's body works against them. Sperm whales are wrapped in a layer of blubber that can reach 14 inches in thickness. That blubber has the density and rebound of hardened rubber. An orca's teeth measure about 4 inches long. Run the geometry. Their bite reaches the outer layer and stops. It does not penetrate to major arteries. It does not reach organs. It does not cause the kind of internal damage that ends a fight. To actually kill a sperm whale by biting, orcas would need to deliver thousands of shallow wounds over many hours, all while the whale is ramming them, tail slapping them, or diving into water they cannot follow into. It is an equation where the whale's armor is thicker than the predator's weapons are long. Even a successful attack would leave the pod so injured that they would struggle to hunt for weeks afterward. That is not a victory. That is a Pyrrhic disaster. And now we arrive at the deepest layer of the answer, the one that most people never think about. None of these defenses evolved because of orcas. Orcas are, in evolutionary terms, a relatively recent problem. The sperm whale lineage is far older. It grew up in an ocean populated by predators that make modern killer whales look like small-time hustlers. Around 10 to 15 million years ago, the ancestors of the modern sperm whale shared the seas with monsters that no living creature has ever had to face. Megalodon, a shark that reached 60 feet in length and weighed over 50 tons. Leviathan, a prehistoric relative of the sperm whale itself, built as a super predator with teeth over a foot long and a bite force that could crush the skull of any whale alive today. These animals were designed specifically to hunt other whales. Not scavenge them, hunt them. And the ancestors of the sperm whale had to survive that world long enough to pass on their genes. That kind of evolutionary pressure does not produce delicate animals. It produces overbuilt ones. The thick blubber, the reinforced skull, the battering ram head, the coordinated pod defenses, the willingness to fight instead of flee. All of it was forged in an era of violence that no living predator can even approximate. When a modern orca pod approaches a sperm whale, they are not looking at a large prey animal. They are looking at a survivor, a living relic of a war that ended before most of the ocean's current inhabitants even existed. Every weapon the orcas have, the sperm whale's ancestors already faced from opponents twice as dangerous. That psychological asymmetry matters more than most people realize. The sperm whale is not scared. It has been through worse. And on some instinctive level, the orcas can sense that. This is what makes the sperm whale one of the most quietly fascinating creatures on the planet. It does not win because it is the biggest. It does not win because it is the fastest. It wins because it is fundamentally unkillable, in a way that predators can measure and respect. Its power is not in offense. It is in refusal. The refusal to run, the refusal to panic, the refusal to break formation. In the ruthless economics of the ocean, that refusal is worth more than any weapon evolution could design. Orcas are the kings of the sea. They know it. Every other species knows it. But even kings have territories they will not enter. Every empire has borders it respects. For the killer whale, that border is drawn around the sperm whale. It is the one line on the map they refuse to cross. So the next time you watch footage of an orca pod dismantling a great white or drowning a blue whale, remember that even this animal, the ocean's supreme predator, has a limit. Somewhere in the deep blue, a slow, boxy, ancient giant is cruising through the water, and the most feared hunter in the sea is quietly steering the other way. Not because it cannot see the meal, but because it has done the math, and the math says no. So what part of this shocked you the most? Was it the fact that the sperm whale's head is essentially a biological battering ram? Was it the pod's defensive formation that turns a group of whales into a rotating wall of muscle? Or was it the realization that this animal survived an ancient ocean filled with predators far worse than anything alive today? Drop your answer in the comments. And if you want more deep dives into the hidden power struggles that shape the natural world, subscribe now, because there are more of these silent standoffs out there than most people realize, and we are only just beginning to uncover them.